my destiny.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another installment of the Black Book Podcast. Today, I have a good friend, Tim, or Timothy Maxwell, or TMAX, or T to the Max, or Turn Up with TMAX. One of those, right?
Yeah.
I think this dude has a very interesting story. So let's just get right into it. So, Tim, dude, could you just start off by introducing yourself? Like, where you from? What are you doing?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. Um, I am a U.S. military brat, so it's always hard to answer that question, where you're from. I grew up moving every 2 and 3 years, so
Okay,
I don't have a home is where the military sends you, right?
all right.
So I lived in Texas, Colorado, California, Alaska, Maryland, South Carolina, Kansas, New Jersey, Guam, and then in 2008, I moved to Germany because I wanted to play pro basketball in Europe, and my goal was to play in France, but that was very difficult. So I ended up playing in Germany and Belgium for
Oh,
a
I
few
didn't know that.
years. Yeah, and after I was about 29, I was like, yeah, I didn't make the big leagues. I was just playing semi-pro leagues. I mean, they paid me. It was enough to, cover my living expenses, but I wasn't like buying Ferraris and Lamborghinis or nothing. So I was like, I'm still young and I still want to travel. So I decided just to travel all of Europe. So just whenever I had a chance, I just take vacations and just see what I could see, go meet the people, try to learn the languages. And then I ended up
Okay.
moving to Spain for about 3 years. And that's kind of when I started teaching English. That was my like way to get into the country. And it's also where I started doing my fitness. I started my fitness company there because teaching English isn't that demanding. So I had, some free time, and
Or
I was a young
lucrative.
athlete. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's trying to lose weight and get better. So yeah, so that's where I launched Train with TMAX, which is the name of my company, and that's also where I learned Spanish. And um, yeah, I did that for a few years until I couldn't keep a visa, and then I said, you know what, let's move to China. That's It's always been on my list. So again, the teaching experience in Spain really helped. So it helped me get my job here in China, and I came in as a teacher, and now I am a social media manager.
Wow. All right. Social media manager. A lot of people in China, especially foreigners, do not have this job. So, explain to us,
Right.
like, how did you get this job as a social media
Man.
manager?
So over the course of my life, I always did like what I was supposed to do, do this and this will be your results, study hard, get good grades, you'll get a great job. And just that just never worked out for me. I always did what I was supposed to do, but I never really got what I was like supposed to get. And
Right.
at some point I learned, you know what? It's not about what you do, no matter how skilled you are or talented, if you don't meet the right people and network, you will never get what you want. And so I
Right.
was armed with that experience when I came to China. So as soon as I hit the ground here, I was networking, meeting people, just doing whatever I can to put feelers out in every different area that I was interested in. And I do my vlog and I do these workouts in the park, and I just have all these different things that I have going on, and I'm not shy about sharing this with people.
Right.
And one day, a friend just called me. She had started a new job, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm working at this company. I think you'd be great for it. They do a lot of traveling around China. It is an English teach company, but the position was like to train teachers and to travel China a bit to basically promote the company, do some marketing." I was like, "Heck
Right.
yeah, I love performing and I like, being in front of people. So cool." And so I actually I went to the company to say hi to the friend. I was gonna have lunch with her. And she was like, well, since you're here, do you just want to meet the hiring manager? I was like, okay, yeah. And I didn't really know what the job was yet. I just came to say hi. And so I sat down with this dude, and he's like pulled out my resume. And I was like, and you know, I'm in sweatpants. I'm not there for an interview. I just came to say hi. And so he said we talked for like 15 minutes, just over a coffee, not even in like a formal situation.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, that was an interesting conversation. It felt like an interview, but like I didn't apply for a job. And then like a week later, I get a phone call. It's like, yeah, so we're gonna offer you the job. And I was like, what job? I didn't didn't apply for anything yet.
Okay. So yeah, it was a
Yeah,
couple of like weird
yeah,
events.
yeah. They're like, you'll be perfect for it. And I was like, all right. Yeah, so I joined the company originally as a trainer, so I'd be training teachers and then also just traveling around doing some promotions. And after the COVID hit, the guy that was running the Western social media department, because as you know, in China, there's Western social media and then there's Chinese social media.
Yep.
Uh, and he was still having to keep up with his Chinese stuff, but he's in the US and he just couldn't manage both of them. And I'd already been helping him with the newsletter, and he knew that I was a vlogger on YouTube. So he said, hey, you know, do you think this is something you'd be interested in? And I was like, yes, yes, sign me up right now.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah, this is a quick
Anybody,
transition.
yeah, anybody who knows about Western social media would have taken. I would have taken that job. I have no
Oh,
idea
yeah.
about this like about this company. Yeah. All right. So you
Well,
mentioned you're a vlogger.
yeah.
So tell me a
Yep.
little bit about the vlog. I know I've seen the vlog before, but tell everyone
Yeah.
else.
I hope so. Yeah. So actually, before I moved to China, I had a blog, so a written blog, that I started like way back in 2014 because I got off of Facebook because I was spending too much time on there. But I'm still traveling, and my parents were like, "We want to know what you're doing and take pictures." And so I was like, "All right, I'll write a blog." And I started writing it. And I really enjoyed writing and sharing, and it wasn't like super popular. I mean, I was maybe getting like 1,000 visitors a month, um, but when I moved to China, I was like, you know, I don't really feel like writing anymore, and I don't know how many people are actually reading this. So I was like, you know what? Let me just switch over to do vlogs because video is much easier to make. It's easier to be consistent, or so I thought. And I was like, I'll share Chinese culture with everybody, and so that's effectively what I've been doing. Just most of my videos are about, you know, being an expat in China, you know, all the weird things like in Chinese people are saying nigga all the time, and you know, things that people hear but maybe they don't know for sure. So now I can be that source, like, yeah, this is true,
Right.
or I bet you didn't know this, or this is what the food is really like. It's not all Cantonese food. There's no General Tso's chicken, you know, things like that.
Yeah. I tell my friends all the time back at home, like, dude, you ain't eating real Chinese. Like, you eating Chinese
You're
food, but
right.
you're not eating the Chinese food I'm eating here. Totally,
Exactly.
totally different. But you ever find someone like in living in China talking about how they miss American Chinese food? I've had a couple of people like that.
Wow, you know, honestly, I have not heard that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a couple people tell me like, man, I miss like Americanized Chinese food. I was like, what? After you had like this
Wow,
amazing food here,
exactly. Yeah.
I don't think I can go back to eating like Americanized Chinese food.
And for me, it'd be like a treat kind of thing. Like, oh, you know what I haven't had in like 6 months? It's American Chinese food. But it wouldn't
Egg
be like,
rolls,
let's eat again.
like egg rolls aren't as big here in China like they are in
Oh, yeah.
American places.
Yeah. I like egg roll. We know one thing. So in my company where I'm working now, most of the Chinese people studied in Europe, not America. Um, and one thing that they say that they like that's not as common here are the shrimp chips. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I like shrimp chips. They, I guess in Europe
Like,
they're much more popular than they are
oh,
here.
dude,
Yeah, like the crunchy, it's like a,
like
oh, like a pork
like
rind almost, but
it's like it melts in your mouth, right? Yeah,
yeah,
I know
exactly.
exactly what you're talking about. I don't really like those like that. Sarah, like
Yeah,
my girl loves them.
they're okay, but like I would. That's just for me a weird thing for them to miss. like it's like egg rolls. Like you never see egg rolls here. I don't see shrimp chips here. Like, I guess that's why you would miss it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So, do you mention like understanding how people talk here in China, like the word nigga versus nigga, because
Yeah.
I mean that's something that most black people hear all the time,
Uh-huh.
especially when they first get to China. So, dude, can you
Mhm.
expound on that experience you had when you first heard that word?
Well, so I moved to China like to learn Chinese. That was my number one goal. So I was, I'm just engaging people with my little bit of ni hao and, you know, just shima. That's all I knew how to say. And the first time I heard it, I was like, it was two ladies, and they're a little bit older than me, like maybe early 40s, and they're pointing. And they're like, nigga, nigga. And I was like, I know this woman is not pointing at me. But I was by myself, so like I'm looking around. There's no, you know how you verify like with your buddies, like, are you talking to
Um,
us? Or and they'd be like, they would confirm. But I'm alone, and I'm like, I can't believe this lady just sitting here calling me a nigga. And um, so then I just asked a Chinese friend. I was like, what? I heard it later at work, and I was like, what does that mean? And they're like, oh, it just means that, or like, well, or And I was like, okay, okay. I'm glad I didn't
yeah,
punch that lady on the street.
yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, I think I even heard it had a worse first time experience than you. Like, I was on
Uh-huh.
the subway. I was coming off the subway, and this guy walking behind me on the phone, and all he's going,
Uh,
nigga, 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 and I'm going, this. And I turned around, I was like, this dude. And yeah, it took me to go to work the next day to go like, dude, what does this word mean? It's like, oh, it means this, that,
yeah.
or something else. So it's like a very commonly used word in Chinese that
Yeah,
like
it is.
that
It's
has
crazy. Well,
nothing to
what's
do
funny?
with black people.
I actually use it now. Like I'm not. Before I moved to, actually, when I lived in the U.S., I never really used the word with my friends or anything. Like maybe occasionally, but just very rarely. It's just not a word in my vocabulary. But I've used it so much more here since I lived in China than my whole life because it means so many different things. It's like the utility word. It means it means like, it means that, it means this. So you just I talk to my colleague like, oh, gay, well, a nigga. And I'm like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting here calling my Chinese colleague a nigga, and for them they're just like, yes, it's perfect Chinese. Good job, Tim.
Yeah, I found myself using that word as well because like especially when like I'm trying to describe something, I'm like lost for words. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, it's like really easy to use that just to transition.
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, dude. So like, what else do you talk about on your blog?
Um, so I have I don't know, it's not a special brand of comedy, but uh I like parodies, I like slapstick humor, you know, I think it's puns, so things that aren't like super popular. So I just being a creative in general, I like to try to recreate um this humor via sketches. So I do a little bit of sketch comedy, and I try to at least make it relevant to people who watch it. So as an expat, I try to, bring it into, okay, the scenarios, I'm an expat in this situation, and then, have like this silly humor. Uh, and I'm not a musician. I'm not a great singer, but I love music. I have rhythm, thankfully. Uh, and I can rap. I guess pretty much anybody can rap. I didn't say I could rap well. I could rap. I don't know how good it is. So I do music as well. So I do parody songs, or since I'm trying to learn Chinese, actually my most popular video on my Chinese social media channel is a song I did called HSK1. And basically it's like level one Chinese speaker. And I did it half in Chinese, half in English. And I'm just mixing the lyrics. And then I videotape my friends. I think Sarah's in the video. And uh, so I do this kind of thing. It's practice for me, but it's also entertaining for other people, and it's fun to make. And so I like to do this type of thing as well.
Okay. Yeah. And like, so basically, you were inspired to do that because you didn't want to blog anymore, so you made a vlog.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
thought I
vlog.
was being lazy, but it's actually just as much work.
Try editing audio.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're a
Videos
better
are
man than me. I
videos are, I
started
think,
a
are much
podcast is
easier.
huge.
I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, like when I first got it off the ground, I mean, like it's still kind of getting off the ground. But when I very first started, dude, it was like, took a lot of time, basically,
Yeah, I bet.
to like get things, introductions and like music
Hmm.
and all of those things like that. Yeah, dude. Um, so man, before you went to China, before you came to China, you were in Spain teaching, and you started a fitness company. Can you tell us more about
Yeah.
that?
So yeah, having the basketball background, like I've always trained, just to stay healthy, to stay competitive. I didn't have an agent for most of my career, so I was having to go to tryouts a lot. So you have to stay healthy and you have to stay strong. And of course, other people, you meet other people who are on the same grind or who are aspiring to do the same thing. So people say, "Hey man, when do you work out? Can I train with you?" And so I just kind of let people train with me, and
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of got interesting, like helping people, seeing them grow. Even if I wasn't seeing myself progress much, I was like, "Oh, I just helped this other person, improve their vertical or get faster in the 40." I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And like if I got hurt, so I think my first or second season in Belgium, I slipped a disc and pulled a muscle in my back at the same time, and it made me angry because I'm young and healthy. How can I get hurt? Like what? So I started studying a little bit about anatomy and the body, and it just kind of was fascinating. I was like, wow, that's what is happening in my body, and this is why I was hurt, overuse, and this muscle's not working, and this one's compensating, and just this, just it kind of snowballed and just got interested. So I was doing a little bit of research. Like, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Like a little pop up popped up. Uh, okay, sorry. Okay, back up to make the editing easy. Um, yeah, so it snowballed and just it really piqued my interest. And so I just started studying a little bit on the internet. Everything's on the internet. How does the body react to this? How do I improve this part? And I was like, you know what? Let me just study this, like to really know what I'm doing, what I'm talking about. So I started doing CrossFit. And one of the guys, I'm a natural athlete. So one of the guys one day he was like, "I'm going to be out of town next week. Do you mind coaching?" And I was like, "I never coached before. I only know stuff like to help myself." But then doing that experience for that week, I was like, "Wow, you know what? This is fun. I could definitely coach people. I like helping people improve. And then physically, it's something that I'm already good at. So when I got to Spain, I knew that I wanted to get into calisthenics. This is what was hot at that time. It's like 2015. Street workout. All the buff black dudes on the street corner, like on the side of the street pole or the stoplight, hanging off doing pull-ups. I was like, you know what, I want to try that.
Okay.
So, and in Spain, the climate is very nice, so everybody's outside all the time, and there was, some calisthenics sparks. So I just went over there one day. I was like, oh, we should do some a workout basically. And then it was like I can't even remember who was the first person. Maybe it was my neighbor. It's like, hey, I saw you over the park. Can I join you? And I was like, yeah, sure. And whenever there's two or three or four people, then other people are curious. And so I was like, yeah, let's just meet every weekend. And of course, I'm trying to make Spanish friends. I want to practice my Spanish. So I'm like just inviting whoever I meet, like, hey, you want to come? Yeah, I do the whole thing in English. You can practice your English, and then we'll do language exchange after. It just kind of grew from there. One day, I walk out to the park and there's 10 people waiting. I'm like, whoa, what happened?
Okay.
Um, so and this was all like free. I wasn't charging anybody. I just enjoyed meeting people. And then so this guy came one time. He's like, that was great. I loved it. So how much do I owe you? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I have to pay for it, right? And I was like, no, I just do it for free. He's like, no, I don't feel right. I have to pay you. I was like, okay, well, you can buy me a drink or something. I thought it was just, him being weird. And then the next week, like two more people like asked me the same thing, like, how much do I owe you? And I said, why do people want to give me money to do something I'm enjoying? And then so, I kept doing the free thing, and I was teaching English from there it was like K through 10th grade, and summer came, and so I'm not working in the summer. I was like, I need income. What if I tried to do this fitness thing? So I launched like a summer boot camp, that's all the rage, 20, 15, 20 people, 30 people, something like that. But I wanted to be legit before I did this. So I got my certification from ACE, which is like an international organization. They're, highly established in the exercise physical science field. And then I had to get a first aid certificate, but I'm in Spain. So I had to do the whole thing in Spanish. And once I passed my PR at first aid in Spanish, I knew that I had made it. My language was, I was a Spanish speaker and I was a certified fitness professional at the same time.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So then I launched that first boot camp, and I was like, okay, maybe, 10, 15 people, the ones that come on the weekend will show up. And I had 35 people show up to the first boot camp. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be rich. This is awesome. I'm going to do this forever. And obviously, it's a newness thing. So the newness kind of wore off. My second and third boot camp were only like 20 people. But again, it's just well enough to pay my rent and then some. So I was basically surviving off this. And so it was at that point where I decided I'm not going to go back to teaching English. I'm going to do this full time. But what I didn't realize was in the north of Spain, people love being outdoors, but in the north of Spain, it rains a lot and it actually can snow in the winter. And yeah, people just don't like to be outside when it's cold. And so the boot camps in the summer were super successful. And then fall and winter came, and then the numbers started dwindling. And it was like, oh crap, I'm not making a lot of money here. And I didn't take this teaching job. So I'm on a student visa, and, I only have a year to study / work. So after that epiphany hit in about winter, when I had like 3 people show up, I said, okay, I need to find a way to supplement this income. And so I started making video courses. And I was like, okay, I'll sell this online to try to make some money. And I was still kind of cautious. I was like, I'm a newbie. I don't have the right to launch, how to do workout courses online. I was like, wait, no, I'm training people. So I should, yeah, I have the right. But I couldn't find a platform. I was, trying to do my own website and just was not tech savvy enough to get traffic there and all that. So I didn't actually launch anything online, but I'd already started doing these videos. So in the summer, the following summer, I did some boot camps, made all my money back that I missed from the winter, but then I had to leave Spain because I didn't have a visa. And when I got to Alaska, where my parents were living at the time, I said, okay, I need to make money online. And so I started launching these classes on Udemy, the website that I was using. And, started making like $300 or $400 a month. And I was like, whoa, I can do this. So I made a few more courses, and, but at that, I had already applied, coming to China is not like oh, I'm gonna go to China and the next week you're there. It's like, I'm going to China and the next year you're there. So
takes like 6 months. Yeah.
yeah. So I had already, planned to come to China. So I was in the process doing all the paperwork and stuff when I was doing these fitness courses. And so I kind of launched them. And as soon as I got to China, I stopped doing it because, I'm here in China trying to see what's happening here. But they still make money today, just maybe a couple $100 here and there, which is nice. It's just a supplementary income.
Right.
But then when I got to China, I again want to meet people. I like fitness, so I started doing the workouts here. And it started with like 3 or 4 people from work, and then people, again, they see you, they're curious. And in China, people are very curious of foreigners doing stuff, so they definitely stop, and if they're interested, they'll join. And it got to the point where there was a gym that was near my house, and one of the coaches said, "Hey, we want you to coach." So I ended up coaching 3 days a week at this gym, uh, just doing HIIT training and kettlebell training, all these different types of trainings. And of course, I wasn't the only foreign coach, but I was like the only American coach.
Right.
So, whenever they were doing promotions and marketing, they want me to participate, and then they paid me for my time. So I was really enjoying that, again, supplementing my income. And then COVID hit, and now the gym, they only operate online. So, and I already have my own online thing, so I don't work with them anymore. But that's yeah, so that's pretty much. Oh, so one other thing with this train with TMAX thing, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do individual training at my house. So I turned my apartment into a gym, like moved all the furniture to one side. I bought some equipment. I was like, yeah, I train people. COVID just stomped all over all my plans, because obviously people aren't, one, they can't get into the neighborhood because there's like security out front, and then now people are
I'm
just,
surprised you would take that risk.
well, I didn't know we was gonna get hit with a virus. I was ready.
Oh,
Bro, I
okay,
was all
okay.
in. I was ready to make it happen. But
Wow.
so now it's yeah, obviously I'm not doing that. But so I just right now I still do the free workouts in the park. And because I moved to a different part of Beijing, I can't do it as often as I did before. But the community is so large now that if I don't go, there's other people who can coach that are qualified. So that's great. So the community operates under my name, but I'm not there sometimes. And even the group in Spain, they still meet like 4 times a week, and they still use my name, but I'm not even there.
Oh wow, dude,
So
that's
it's,
really cool. That like you had such an
yeah, it is.
impact that
It's like a legacy, right?
they still meet
Yeah,
regularly. Wow,
yeah.
that's
I'm
awesome.
I'm really proud of that group. Yeah.
Dude, so like, have you like like I know you tried to do a couple of other things with the training. Have you thought about like
Mhm.
trying to like go legit, like create like a legit business out of it?
Yeah. So like we mentioned earlier, or I mentioned earlier about the connections. I had a job at Keep. I was, the app. I
Yeah.
went to one of their gyms. Actually, I went to their headquarters, and I did like an interview with their head trainer, and he was like, "Yeah, we like you, but we don't want you to coach classes. We want you to coach our trainers." And I
Okay.
was like, "All right, bet." And then COVID, so I was planning to use that opportunity to kind of expand my contacts, start meeting people, start, how do I set up my own gym? What are the legal things that I need to look at? Doing things as a foreigner in China is quite difficult. So you really do need somebody who speaks the language and who knows the business. And
Basically,
that was,
is Chinese. Someone who is
yeah,
Chinese.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
that was going to be my in. And so yeah, again, just coronavirus kind of derailed all of my fitness related goals for 2020,
Yeah. Coronavirus put a lot of
because
things on hold.
it's a it can be an online thing, but I find, for me, I don't do the fitness thing because I want to make a lot of money. I like this intrapersonal connection. I like to be there with the person. I like helping them, pushing them. So for me, I do the online courses just as supplementary, but I don't want my thing to be online. I want it to be like, you meet me, you touch me, you see me, you feel my presence. Like, this is how
Right.
I help clients. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. But dude, I want to ask you about this thing I had no idea about. Like you touched on it a little bit, but dude, I had no idea you were trying to become like or you were sort of a professional basketball player in
Oh yeah.
Germany. I had no idea
Yeah.
about this, dude. I've known you for like what, like three, 4
2 years.
years, two. Maybe, I don't know. When did you come to
Yeah.
China?
2.5. I got here in April 2018.
Oh, so 2 years. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, though, I mean,
Yeah.
we were colleagues. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't think Sarah knows about this either.
Yeah. I didn't talk about it much in China.
I
It
mean,
was
because like this is one of my
no, go
goals
ahead.
to like get someone to actually speak about this. I mean, one of the goals of
Oh,
the podcast is to actually like show that we can actually be successful and stuff like that outside of the United States or outside of our
oh, right.
home country in general, no matter where we are. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've actually been looking for someone to like speak about like playing sports outside of the United States because like
Okay.
obviously I think most people besides like soccer, most people want to
Mm-hmm.
play. Most people want to be a professional athlete in the United States. However, I think in
Mm-hmm.
2020, um, we can clearly see that like you can go out and make money almost at
Oh
like
yeah.
maybe 100 different countries now, and maybe even make more than what you would in the United States. You won't be as
Oh.
popular, but you'll have a nice check coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So so I studied French in school, so my goal was, oh, I'll move to France and play basketball there because I'll be able to speak to people. Um, but so moving abroad, you've been through it. So visa things is just a huge obstacle for a lot of things. And if you don't have people helping you, it becomes even harder. So Germany is Germany and Belgium are, I'm sorry, Germany, Belgium, Italy are three locations where a lot of Americans go to try to play pro sports, basketball. Also, American football is big in these three
Mm-hmm.
countries, and um, and then if you are good, you could try your hand at soccer, but you got to be really good because they're all already good.
Right.
um, but for basketball, in Germany, it's actually a lot of people do very well in the semi-pro leagues because they know the Americans are really good, so they pay you, very well, but they don't expect anything from you other than help the team to win. Basically, it's not
Okay.
because in Europe everything is club based. So
Right.
this pro team is going to have a junior team. They're going to have a kids team. They're going to have a women's team. They're going to have like eight or nine different teams. So it's a club, it's an organization. It's not just one team. So anything that helps any of these other teams, they're all for it. Everything's organizational. So um, when I moved to Germany, I was staying on a military base because that's the visa part of it. And a lot of guys do this. You go, you get a job, at like the military grocery store or working with kids. That's also something that I did, just to have your visa to stay in country. But the jobs, the regular work hours, like 8 to 5. So then in the evening, you play with these teams. And in the semi-pro leagues, they're all, even the locals, the Germans or the Belgians or whoever, they usually have jobs too, and they're usually not paid as well as the Americans, but they're just a little pocket change for them. They're just doing it for fun. But
Right.
if that organization wants that team to move up, they'll hire a bunch of Americans, as many as the rules allow, to help this team to win so they can move up to the next league.
Okay.
And of course, every time you move up, you get more fans, blah, blah. It's a money thing. But they pay you really well. And so I had the unfortunate opportunity to play with a team in Germany, uh, on an all German team. All the players were German, and I loved every one of those guys. But the coach was American, and this dude was the worst coach ever in the world. And I had, this is my first year, and I have all this, um, was it like all this enthusiasm? I had all this drive. I'm training on my own. I'm working all day, and I'm playing hard at night, giving everything I got. I'm going out with these German guys, like trying to, really be on this team. And the coach just, and I am the best player on the team, but there are some other good players too. And I'm not one of those like players that tries to take over. I try to keep my teammates involved. And I played the one, so this is the point guard. I'm supposed to be the leader on the team, and I was filling this role perfectly. And we're winning games, and the manager loves me, and the president loves me, and this coach just does not know what he's doing. And so it got to the point where I just said, I told them, I was like, I can't play on this team if this coach is going to be here. And they're like, oh, please, we'll do what we can. And they didn't do anything. So I left. And then like the following month, they got rid of him, and they're calling me back like, "Hey, we got rid of him." I was like, "I'm already signed a contract moving to Belgium." Um,
Wow.
so it's possible to make some money if you're just like there and you just want to, hey, I want to play ball for fun, not necessarily looking for a career. It's actually quite easy. Let me just make €1,000 a month, and €1,000 is pretty good. I mean, you can pay your rent, you can live off €1,000 in a lot of places in Europe. Um, but usually they won't provide visa, they won't help you with that kind of thing. So you need to have some other way to get in. And this, for the Americans at least, is to work at the military base. And it's not that difficult to. It's
What
not hard to
about
get the jobs. You just
if
have to get
you're
it
on the
when they're
pro team?
available.
What if
Now, if
you're
you're
on the
on the
pro
pro
team?
team,
Yeah.
yeah, you need an agent. So, and of course, so I have a lot of friends that did this. So usually your agent sets it up. The team brings you in, they fly you out from the US. You spend like a week or two, usually in the summer. You do like a summer tournaments. They just travel around, you play different teams. They just kind of see what they think of you. They like you, they sign this contract. You go home for a little while, you come back right before preseason starts. They give you a house, they give you a car. If you're in Germany, everybody speaks English, but if you live in a weird part, they might give you somebody to help you with translation and stuff. If you're in Belgium, they'll give you a translator. France, I'm assuming. Spain's the same thing. And basically, this person just kind of helps you get on your feet until you feel comfortable. They use like a team manager or something. So you basically your life is just going to practice and then trying to figure out the language and figure out life. And the team, I mean, you get medical insurance. They cover everything. They take care of you. As an athlete, you just need to sign contracts, and then you just need to play. When you're a pro, again, because everything's club based, that means there's going to be kids teams. So there's lots of like marketing and photo shoots. You might have to go watch a kids game, or you might have to go show up and like present awards at halftime. So there's a lot more community requirements as a pro athlete in Europe
Okay.
because of the structure of pro sports. At the end of games, so the highest league I made it to was the second league in Belgium, and after one game, it was like a big game. We won it, and it was like 4,000 people in there, and just after the game, you're just signing autographs. Like just people coming to you like, I don't even know who you are. You just have a uniform on, sign it. And then I was new to the team, so other people like obviously had longer lines, and yeah, it's the whole thing. It's like a whole package deal. You travel when they tell you to travel. You do this promotional thing. I think if you're like obviously like a high level superstar or whatever, you might have some sort of endorsements, and most of that is usually through the club when you're a foreigner,
Yeah.
because
Do you think
most
it's worth
people
it?
aren't going to sign. Yeah, if it's your dream, man, go for it. And that's the thing. So I was not the best player at my school. I wasn't the best player among my friends. I didn't play in university. I just played pickup, but I went to a big university. So obviously, there's 12 players on team, but there's more than 12 people at the school who can play ball. So we can hoop. And you're at some point you're like, okay, do I really want this? And that's the question most people have to ask. Everybody says they want it, but when it's a lot of work. So when I
Right.
moved to Belgium, I have an agent, so I'm driving to different countries. If I live in Belgium, I'm driving to the Netherlands for tryouts. I'm driving to Germany for tryouts. I'm driving to Luxembourg and to France for tryouts, and then driving home that same day. Like
Wow.
yeah. So how many people say, "Oh yeah, I drove to another country to go try to play for a basketball team"? That's what I was doing. It's a hustle. You gotta hustle if you really want it. Unless of course you know somebody, then and they get you in like that. So I definitely recommend that route. But if you're gonna, bootstrap it, do it on your own, it takes a lot of time, and you really have to fight. And you can be good. So again, talent is not everything. You can be great. You can be the best player on the court, but they're looking for a total package, because it's not just the sport, it's the community involvement. So how well do you get along with the other players? Like this kind of stuff is really important when you're when you don't have an agent. You have to be a complete human being.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand that. Hmm.
but
That's
it's
really
definitely worth
interesting.
it. Yeah.
Dude, so that's like you were an army brat, dude. So like I feel like well you already said this. You've traveled a whole lot. Basically you spent your life like not in the same place. Like
Yeah.
what's like the longest amount of time you spent in one place before let's say you were 21?
Before 21.
Yeah.
I was born in California and I lived there until I turned 4. That was the longest I lived anywhere.
Okay. So how do you think like that like, you know, um sort of shaped who you are or like shaped your frame of mind about like the world and just how you think about things, how you go about things?
Yeah, I have great parents, so they really prepared me mentally for the moving. I'm an only child as well, so uh, I so obviously have a lot of other military friends, and not all of them turn out like I do. Some people are just it's really hard, and usually it just comes from the parents. So the military, the service member is like, oh, we're moving again. The spouse, how do they handle that? They're like, oh, we're moving again. Oh, I can't take this. I just made my friends. The kid's gonna imitate. But so my mom, she was just very positive, optimistic person. Even if she didn't want to move, she's like, all right, yeah, new adventure. Aren't you so excited? I'm excited. And so she kind of she pushed this enthusiasm into me, and I'm like, oh, cool, new school, yeah, only my 12th school this year, so so I'm just it became more of an expected thing versus oh man, we're moving. It's like, oh cool, where am I going to go next? So it was always like this new
Okay.
adventure. And also my parents, so well, I'm getting about to show my age here. So my dad was in the military back when like ranks that don't even exist anymore were in the military. Back when, so it's funny, when I tell my friends, I'm like, oh, your dad's military. They're like, oh, thank you for your service. I was like, when I was growing up, there was no thank you for your service. The military people were making less than they were at McDonald's. My dad worked in the military and at McDonald's just to pay the rent because the
Wow.
military, they didn't take care of him back in the day. It was, yeah, it was not as good of a job financially as it is now. So both my parents worked and they were going to school as well. So, but I'm an only child. So if they can't find a babysitter or if, I was a latchkey kid. You know what a latchkey kid is? You old enough for that? So
How about you
basically,
explain that? Yeah.
elementary, it's elementary school kids who walk home and they have a key and they have, they stay home for a few hours by themselves so their parents come home from work.
Oh, I mean, like,
So
I think,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I guess in
I've
Chi-Town
done
this
that
is probably a
before.
normal thing.
I mean, that wasn't
It's
completely my
illegal
life,
now.
but I did it for maybe like a year or two. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's against the law now. They'll throw you in jail for this. But so I was a latchkey kid, and so my mom taught me how to cook. Like at age 4 and 5, or we go to school like at 5. Hey, when you come home, you put this food in the microwave for this long. You hit these buttons. That's your lunch, that's your snack till I get home. So like my parents just really instilled this independence in me, and that really helped me mentally as we move a lot. And then I think just both my parents are also very outgoing people. So we move to a new place, they're quick to make friends. I saw this. So then I was quick to make friends. And that that was huge for me. And then of course sports was always that's how I started making friends. I played football, I played basketball, I played soccer as well, and ran
Okay.
track. So I just would meet people, and I was a decent athlete. So I was like, "Oh, you're pretty good. Oh, you want to hang out later? Cool." So most of my friends came from this, and once you do it once, that builds confidence. So when you move to the next school, you do it again. Oh, it builds confidence. And I went to 12 different grade schools, so I had lots of practice at building confidence, meeting new people, over and over again. So I just got good at it. But then I have quite a few friends and people that I know that just they suffer depression. They dropped out of school. They couldn't do it. It's hard. But I'm a strong believer that family has a very powerful influence on the child and how your parents receive it. Military in general is just a very difficult occupation for the family because the government's like,
Mm-hmm.
do this, and the whole family has to, it's not like my job now, they tell me to do something. If I had a family, they wouldn't be affected by it. It'd just be me. But the military is like, your house, everything is changing because we say so, and you don't get to pick where. So
Yeah, I get
um,
that.
I'm actually grateful for the experience though. And then also traveling. So like I'm a bit down in Chengdu, you meet people and you're like, they probably never left Sichuan. And you're like, oh yeah, I lived in Beijing. They're like, oh, what was that like? So people don't
Yeah.
even leave their own city. America's the same way. You know, I would go to school in one part of town and I'd move to the other part of town, when my dad got a house on the base. And kids had never been to the other part of town. I'm like, it's down the street. Like, how did you not? Yeah, how did your
Yeah.
family not, bro? I never forget this story. I lived in Maryland. I went to high school, 11th and 12th grade in Maryland, Southern Maryland. My high school was 30 minutes from the capital, from DC.
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes. There were people at my high school that had never been to DC. Teachers, students. I'm like, it's 30 minutes. It's our nation's capital, and you've never been there? Not on a field trip, not on, like, your parents didn't just take you for fun when you were 10. And these are people that aren't military, so they lived their whole life in Southern Maryland and never been to DC. And I was like, that is, so for me, I couldn't even fathom like
Can
not
fathom
seeing the
that.
world.
Right.
So when I
Right.
got to Europe and then realized how much more world there really was, I lost my mind. I was like, I got to see everything. And then coming to Asia is like, yeah, I thought I saw it all until I got here, and I'm like, oh goodness, there's so much more.
Yeah, there is, dude, and it's like that's really like never enough to see. There's like really like never
Yeah,
enough. Like I've
yeah.
seen Chengdu and I've seen outside of Chengdu, so now I'm like, now I want to go to Xinjiang or now I want to go to
Yeah.
like Tibet because I'm like right here, But it's like
Yeah.
as a foreigner and especially as an American nowadays in China, like it's really
Mm,
difficult to get over to those places because like the laws and policies they've set in place. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Xinjiang was on my list. Yeah, it's at the bottom of the list now because that's that's gonna be hard to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah, it is. Dude, so let me ask you one more question, like before we get out of here, before we start
Yeah.
wrapping up. Uh, as a black person, like what is like your opinion about like traveling the world and like how do you think as a black person we should do this?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think this the idea of like identifying as a black person traveling is a very American thing. Um, I mean, it is ingrained in me, so I do feel this way as well. But after traveling so much, I kind of see it from a little bit different point of view. I went to
Yeah.
Panama with one of my good friends. Panama is not North America. It's not the United States of America. But
Right.
half the people there are black. Like if you just look at them, like, oh, black people, but they're not, and they're all Spanish
Mm-hmm.
speakers. So you just like, oh, okay, you're not a, but they're American effectively, right? Um, and then when I moved to Belgium, the Congolese, the Belgium and Congo used to be a colony and all that, so they have an
Yeah.
agreement. There's a lot of Congolese in Belgium, and then France has the same thing with Algeria and Morocco. So there's just a lot of Congolese, Algerians, and Moroccos in this Belgium France area, and they're black, but they're not Americans. And it's like, oh, huh, okay. And then I took a trip to Norway, and Norway had like a refugee program for I'm gonna mess up the country. It's not Nigeria. It's a country in Africa, basically. So they took in like 20,000 refugees from a country, an African country. So Norway is like one of the whitest countries in the world, and then you just have all these. these, Africans that are now considering themselves Norwegians, and they're black. It's like, wow, okay, there's black people like everywhere, and a lot of times, uh, just traveling in general, it does require money, and not everybody saves their money or spends it the way that I do. I don't spend all my money on fancy cars and clothes and all that. I'd rather spend it on travel. So I do travel more than an average person would, especially Americans. And so when I do go places, I do notice, okay, I am the only black dude here. Um, but in Europe, most times I didn't feel like that was a weird thing. Like people didn't look at me like, oh, look at the black guy. It was like, oh, that guy's not from our country. Because you could be black from France, you could be black from UK, black from Poland. There's black people in these countries. When I went to Morocco, I was some of the places I was like the darkest black guy. They're all light skinned Moroccans, but I speak French, and they're like, "Oh, assalamu alaikum." I'm like, "I don't speak Arabic," and they speak French. They're like, "Oh, but you're still a brother," and I'm like, "Hey, we say that in America. We say brothers and sisters, but we're all over the world. There's black people all over the world."
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe the first 5 or 6 years of traveling on my own, as an adult from Europe, I was like, "Wow, black dude traveling, yeah," but it didn't feel like it was it was me saying black dude traveling, but I didn't feel like people were looking at me like, oh, there's the black guy, let's go hang out with him. It's just like another tourist or whatever. But then when I came to Asia, I really felt like a black dude traveling, because now people are staring and looking like, oh, American or UK or France, like, Africa, where are you from? It's where are you from is a bigger question, I think, in Asia. So since moving here,
Yes, it
traveling
is.
Korea, Japan, Thailand, I actually feel like a black man traveling, because people will remind me, oh, hey, a black guy traveling. Like, where are you from?
Yeah.
What are you, black guy traveling? It's like, it's almost not their exact words, but that's just kind of see how they're looking at me, how they're speaking to me.
You get that
So I
vibe from
do,
them.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
you get that. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I've been here just as long. I mean, longer than
yeah,
I've been in China longer than you. So
longer than me,
yeah.
yeah.
So I know. So I know all about this. How they make you feel like you are the black guy, and then without saying that
Exactly,
you
yeah.
are the black guy. Yeah, I get that.
But after having traveled the world and seen so much, my level of offense, or my offense meter, is super low. So I just don't get offended by anything. So I think had I come here before I went to Europe, I probably would have reacted differently to this vibe. But now I just like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm the black dude. What's up? Like, teach me your culture. I'm here. What's up?
Yeah,
But when I do travel
it's a
and I see black people,
tolerated.
it's yeah.
You have to
when
learn
I
to
when I see
tolerate it.
black people traveling, it's good though.
Oh, dude,
It
yeah,
makes you
very good.
it's good to see that people are prioritizing seeing the world. Because again, like if you just stay in your little area, black, white, brown, tan, doesn't matter. You have a small view of the world. When you travel, you see the world. You have a wider view. You can make better decisions, I think, in life in general. And as a part of the black community, the black American community, I love to see other black Americans traveling, because now I know they're going to go back with this wider uh, view of the world, and that will help them and their communities and help other people who haven't been able to travel. And this is how you grow as a community. You become stronger people. So yeah, I love seeing other black people. I don't know how to explain this to Chinese and European friends. You walking down the street, in China, you see another black dude, you are gonna do a head nod or what's that? You're gonna say something, right? It's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, what's up? And they're like, "Why do you do that? Do you know him?" I'm like, no, it's just like we had this connection.
We have a
It's what we do.
universal way of communicating without saying anything. Yeah,
Exactly.
without saying anything.
Yeah. So, yeah. Just recognize. Oh yeah, what's up, man? Hey, you here too? Yeah. All right. One love, and then yeah, go on with your day. So yeah, I like that.
All right. Before we wrap up, dude, can you just like share some like where people can find you online? So like your vlog,
Yeah.
or whatever,
Absolutely.
basically wherever you want to share, like how we can touch with you and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, so my primary social media focus right now is YouTube. So I'm on YouTube at the TMAX. It's THETMAX, no spaces. Lettering, uppercase, lowercase, doesn't really matter. But you have to type in the TMAX. If you just type in TMAX, Yamaha motorcycles pop up. They got that on lock. The TMAX, I got that on lock. Okay, so make sure you add the. Same thing for my website. It's www.thetmax.com. And this was my blog that I had started back in Europe. Most of it is about my life in Spain, but I did blog a little bit here in China. And then when I lived in Belgium, it has a lot of my travel stuff. I wrote a book, so it's like the links and stuff are on there.
You wrote a
And then,
book?
of course, if you, I wrote a book about Spanish language and culture. Just from
That's cool.
my point of view, because I lived there for 3 years. Again, just like we're in China, we see the Chinese from our point of view. I did the same thing to the Spanish. I was like, wow, the Spanish people are like this, and the Spanish language is like this from my point of view. And so yes, on Kindle, iBooks, and Google, there's all links on the website and the YouTube channel. And then of course you can find me on Facebook, Tim Maxwell, or Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all the Tumblr, Pinterest. It's all at TP Maxwell #2. That's because I set all those accounts up like way back in the day, and I barely used them. So probably don't reach out on those. YouTube, hit me up on YouTube. Subscribe to you.
So YouTube is the one. All right, cool. And dude, last thing before we leave, like, do you have like words of encouragement, lasting thoughts, anything like that that you will want to share? And I'll give you the floor. I won't say anything else.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe just to reiterate what we talked about earlier with you asked me, was it worth it? Um, if if you have a dream or if there's something that you want to do in life, do what you can to reach that dream, to achieve that dream. Try. Even if that dream doesn't pan out, even if you fail, it's better to have this dream, fight for it, and fail than to have this dream and never do anything and always wonder, oh man, I wonder if I could have done that. What would have happened? Living with failure, at least you learn, you grow, you get experience. Living with regret, you don't get anything from that other than regret. So if you have a dream, if you have goals, even if it's something you don't think is possible, other people tell you it's not possible, just try it. Go for it. Put all of your effort into it though. Don't just if you just try to half do it, then you just don't waste your time. You're wasting your time. But if you really believe in something, you believe in yourself, go for it, fight for it. And if nothing else, you might just achieve it, which would be awesome when you've reached your goal. But if nothing else, you're going to learn so much and you're going to get so much experience from that. And that's going to help you in so many other areas of your life. So don't let anything stop you from trying to reach your dreams. Yeah.
All right, we're going to end right there. Remember, guys, I'm Eric Charles. That is Tim Maxwell, or AKA TMAX, and that is a Black Book Podcast. All right, dude. I'm just on a mission. I'm trying to live my dreams.